Good evening, everyone. Oh, let's turn that down. There we go. And will this work? Probably not. Hang on. Let's get this going. Stuff is not working. Oh, there we go. Excellent. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Question Time, a weekly show that we do where we answer your questions about Unreal, game dev, or anything you like. This is usually on a Wednesday, so apologies for not being able to do it yesterday. I wasn't feeling great. Mostly better now, so well, let's crack on and do a question time. So the way this works is all you got to do is put your question into chat, and I'll try and grab as many questions as I can whilst we are live. We're going to be about an hour or so. But yeah, other than that, let's jump in. Okay, so let's start off with a question from Fruit Fun Fitness. Hey Ryan, say that you wanted an AI controlled character to have the same moves as the player controlled character. How would you make the AI wall run to navigate to otherwise inaccessible areas? So you can probably make use of smart objects, I'd imagine. Smart links, sorry, not smart objects, smart nav links. So a nav link, if you don't know what a nav link is a way to link two islands together, okay? Of like navigation islands, I mean. So let's say, for example, this is your wall one setup. Yeah. Whoop. Right. Like that. Whatever it may be. And then volume, nav mesh bounds. Okay, so the trick you have with AI is it needs to be able to see that this is a path to go, and also what to do when it reaches that path. So you use something called a nav link, and in particular a smart nav link. So you make a new blueprint class, and you search for nav link. You'll see nav link proxy. Select this, and we'll do smart nav link wall one, for example. And you drag this out, and you've got 2 points, and you just bridge the points to the two different islands, essentially. Now, what you actually do with this thing is, in its code, there's a function you override called receive smart link reached. So this is when it's trying to reach another part. So let's say it's trying to reach this side on the left here. It'll hit the bit on the right, and it'll run this function. And likewise for the other direction too. It will give itself which agent is trying to cross it, and also the destination of where it's going to cross. Now, for this to work, you do have to enable smart links, which you'll find in the class defaults. You do smart link is relevant, like that. And I think that's what you got to do. Oh, copy endpoints from simple link. Do that as well. Okay, you'll see some weird stuff happening here. You should move. Why are you not moving? Let's copy endpoints. There we go. So you've got to click on that copy endpoints, and it will move the smart link to the same location as you've indicated there. And then you just run the code. And the code would be like a run an animation. Like you turn off all navigation, make them run an animation to a particular point, and there you go. It'll be a series of things like this to make them be able to do things like navigation that is a bit more unique. But this is what you would do. Yeah, I've done similar things with this same setup to do things like having zombies crawl through windows and things like that. We use a nav link. When they reach the window, they play the climb animation, and they'll climb through the window onto the other side. Pretty simple. Okay, cool. Next up, we've got a question from Klausberg. How does flying AI work? Pathfinding, something like enemy drone or so. So essentially, the easiest way to explain it would be like line traces, basically going everywhere. It's constantly looking about which way it should be going, which way it will want to go, and it's determining its route based upon that. In order to go from point A to point B, it'll mostly go the way the crow flies. But it is a lot of custom built stuff that you have to make it navigate through, make it look kind of okay. Same for swimming things. if you wanted to really like do tight turns and navigate like three-dimensional objects, then you're looking at something very, very custom. There's no way to do a nav mesh like this in three-dimensional space, as it's only to do projection down. Oh, probably projection down. What's that noise? Oh, okay. Next question. Matt91, Alan. Hi, hey Ryan. Hope you're feeling better. Thank you. Yes. How can you make a mechanic where a jerry can? You pour petrol on the floor. You make then a particle effect follows the path of the fuel. It'll probably be some sort of, well, it's obviously a spline. In order to make that work. In determining how it propagates, though, it would be a little bit interesting to try and achieve. I'd probably do a decal on the floor that's going to be left behind via a spline. So, I mean, or we could. So you could do particle effects, but then you can't interact with individual particles. Like if you want to start a fire, like in the middle, for example, that becomes a little bit trickier. So it'll probably have to do with, yeah, using some sort of spline data, I imagine. How would I actually do this though? So I'd probably make a decal for the gasoline first. So would be a decal to say there, and we'd change that to translucent. And we'll just do a base color there, and we'll take roughness. Oh, don't have to do this anymore. I can just type it in. We're in 5.5 here, by the way. Out of interest, by the way, I did play about the other night with their mutables, making customizable characters inside their own engine. Warning: there is zero documentation for it, and it's taken a little while to figure out. But working on it. Yeah, working way through it. Yeah, so we've got a decal here, which will actually make that like white, I guess. And you kind of want this to be like shiny, make like a puddle shiny. But when you put it on the floor, obviously you're gonna get nothing going on. And that's because the rendering of this is happening somewhere else. So I always get this wrong. Where is it? Opal, no. Fraction, no. I want to change that. Why can't I change it? Oh, opacity will do 0.5, whatever. I've forgotten what you do with this. Right. It could probably make it an additive. I can't remember how you do it now, but you make a decal, leave it on the floor, and make it maybe an object to detect. I don't know. It'd be interesting after watch what they do in GTA. Like you leave this as a spline going across. The hard part is making it trigger from any point. Obviously, if it was at an end point, you can make them just a delayed particle system that you just make it fire off whenever you want. But I mean, there must be a way to target a specific particle. I'll look into it. There might be a better way of doing it with particles. Particles would be cheaper and easier to do, but I need to look into how to target a specific particle, as that's going to be kind of crucial to what we kind of do here. Like one thing you can definitely do with it is you can, obviously if you've ever seen it before, you can put on persistent ID, so every particle that comes out has an ID associated to it. But I don't know if you can interact with that particle. Never actually done anything like that, so that's where I'd probably start looking actually. Because if we know that, then we can trigger it, and then we can trigger adjacent particle in that ID. But I'm not entirely certain. I'll look into it, see if there's a way of doing it nicely. Otherwise, you're doing meshes, which, you know, yeah. Next question. Apo, I've been following along with the arcade kart series. I'm wondering if there's anything I would need to change if I were to make it a local split screen multiplayer. I don't think so. It's pretty standard, yeah. New videos of that are coming out very soon, by the way. They've been recorded. But the next videos cover the AI, making them run around, like, well, not run around, drive around the AI. That works pretty well. You're welcome, tech user. Hey Ryan, how can I allow the player to change the weather of the game using Blueprint in UE 5? Well, you need a weather system first of all, and whatever Blueprint's controlling that will depend greatly on how you interact with it. But you do first of all need a blueprint to control the weather. Either make one yourself, or there'll be tons on the marketplace you can get hold of, which spawn the correct Niagara effects and change the sky and things like that. We're not going to build a whole weather system now; it takes too long. But essentially, that's what it is. And once you've got a blueprint that controls the weather, you can access it, manipulate it, whatever it may be. Tech user, have you thought about continuing the Astrobot series? You left off with the fabric balloon reacting to you walking on it. Also, it would be great if you cover all these cool mechanics, gang abilities. It's something I'll probably go back to at some point. It wasn't a series; it was a live stream we did, and they're usually just one-offs. But Astrobot is probably my game of the year at the moment, so I do want to go back to it and do like little series on like little platforming tips and tricks they have in that. Make it more formal. So never say never, but it could be quite good. Lucky Fume, can you confirm the chaos destruction does not work on a flat mesh? Whenever I use a chaos destructible mesh as an actor component, it only has intended physics if it's not on a flat plane mesh. Correct. It needs 3 dimensions on it. Flat planes do not have 3 dimensions. So, yeah, you can only do chaos on 3-dimensional things or really thin. You can do a really thin cube, but yeah. How do you replicate Ragdoll? Is it built in sync or do you have to code a sync? So by default, physics don't get synced because they're expensive to sync up. However, depending on what version of the engine you're in, when you simulate physics, I believe I remember seeing it. Turned on it. Well, this is 5.5. It's turned on by default. It's replicate physics. Replicating physics is expensive, so you don't want to have too much of it. But yeah, you have that turned on. If you don't have it in your version, you'll need to go look at that. I believe that's all you need to do. Just obviously just make sure the server's the one that's replicating the physics across. Everyone else needs to have that turned off. So the clients would have that turned off. The server would have it turned on. I think there's another one. Been a couple of years when I did it last. I believe so. But yeah. Yeah, that's it. But it be very wary of it. Hey Ryan, have you worked on proximity voice chat with VoIP Talker? Yes, it's in Mimic actually. I don't know. What do you want to know about it? So, yes, it. I don't know if is it enabled by default in this. Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. So you have the VoIP, voice over IP talker component, and you, if I remember rightly, you have to initialize it first. I may be wrong about this because I can't remember too much about it. What was it? VoIP. Create. That's it. Register. You have to register it with the player state. So which player state owns it, and then you have to. Is it that one? No, can't remember now. It's something like this, and then on here you can. Crap, can't remember. It was relatively simple. I just looked at the official documents. It's in that. But the VoIP Talker uses the attenuation settings to work out if you're in proximity to it. So you just have this on, and that should work. I believe that's how it worked. Say, been a while since I've looked at it, but that's, I believe, all you do to make it work with proximity. If you want to do like sort of sound effects as well, do that. You can also do that with these effect chains. You can modulate the voice. That's all done in audio effects, source effect, and you pick which one you want to mess about with, and yeah. I'd say I have to look it up again exactly, but I believe that's all you got to do right at the start of the game is register it, and then it go. Yeah. Could be wrong, but I'll double check that. Brad Hurst, in Mimic, did you create a sound manager class to handle all your audio stuff? Yes. I've got a couple of things. I've got, so you got the sound classes, which are handling the mix with the volume sliders, things like that. But I've also got an extra blueprint class, which is my music manager, because the game's got dynamic music. It looks at how you're playing and remixes the music like that. And also, when you hit the final countdown, it changes the music there. And so it's all using meta sounds, and we use this one actor we just chuck into the world, and that sort of manages, looks after what happens to the music. But yeah, that's all I did there. Let me have a look. I'm now going to pick random ones because there's so many questions. Avidon, how are you? I've got my character getting stuck on geometry of the level. I'm using an AI controller. Is there a way to smooth these things so it won't happen? Maybe via navigation configuration. It depends on what kind of character you're doing. If your character's getting stuck, I imagine you've made them quite big. If you do change their size, do make sure you do the agent settings correctly on the navigation mesh. So the navigation mesh generates the mesh based upon some default settings about how big they expect an agent to be. An agent is the name you give to an AI character, essentially. And there's some things you can customize per character in here. If you go to agent here, you've got nav agent radius. These are what it's registered as. So if you have changed the size of the character, make sure you change these as well, as that will affect what nav data it uses. And you can also generate the nav data differently based upon what kind of character they are too. So in the project settings, if you go down to navigation mesh, you'll see if you scroll down or scroll up. There you go. Agent radius, agent height. So this is how it is like the maximums essentially they could have. Okay. So you just change these and it will change how it generates the nav mesh. So for example, if I have an agent radius of, say they're bigger, let's say they're 60, okay, and I regenerate my nav mesh. Look. You might have to. It should generate. There's no button down here, is there? What have I missed? Usually we do. You can also define specific agents as well. Like if I go to agent, you can somewhere in here. Yeah, supported agents. So you can specify different types of agents. Like we've got a giant character, we've got a smaller character, whatever. You can have this and define per agent what they are on here. So let me just do it on here then. 60. Yeah, that's fine. Don't know why this is not regenerating though. Let me delete it, put it back in. Yeah, no, still not doing it. Oops. Probably messed up something here. Oh, by the way, there's a new feature in Unreal 5.5 if you haven't seen this. I'll show you. It's quite a cool, handy little shortcut. So let's say you're building a whole level and you want to put nav links in. You also want your character to jump around everywhere. You can just click on generate nav links now in the project settings, and it auto places nav links for you. There are settings where you can customize how spaced apart they get put and things like that, but it does it all for you. So it saves you a lot of work. So now AI will be able to jump off any of these sort of islands essentially. Just FYI, as that little feature. We've also got a video coming out about megalights as well in 5.5. Can I give us your son a shout out, Miles? Hello, Miles. Hey Ryan, how do you get AI to use doors? So you got a couple of ways. If they're automatic doors, you just make it so when the AI approaches them, the door opens automatically. You could do a smart nav link, which we showed earlier with the wall running. You can use that method. So when you get to a smart link, it just opens the door, and away they go. Just make sure when you're doing that, that if you have got a nav link, make sure you have got the link set up between the two islands that the door's blocking. Otherwise, it won't see it as a viable route, and we'll just ignore it. If you are going to make it automatic, make sure the object does not block navigation. There's a setting in every mesh we can make it block or allow navigation to it. When a mesh is flickering, with the bounds. Okay, so bounds. Yeah, let's explain what bounds do. So, if I put in a prop here, that's chair, for example. So a mesh a static mesh all on its own. Its bounds is, imagine if this was inside of a cardboard box. That's its bounds. Okay. There's a way to debug bounds. Bear with. No. Yeah, I swear there was a way to do it. Draw bounds. Draw. I don't know. But basically imagine it's in a cardboard box. Okay, and that's the bounds of it. And you can increase the bounds, so that cardboard box is actually bigger than the actual item inside the box. The bounds is what's determined by the renderer whether or not, in a static mesh case, whether it should be included for rendering or not. So if the bounds are visible at any point, it becomes visible and rendered. Now, the flickering you're seeing on meshes, I have to see it to be certain, but it sounds like Z flickering or Z flickering, which is what happens when you have two objects that are taking up the same space. So if I put this in here and change this color here, just so you can see it, obviously you're not going to notice the flickering because they look the same. But if I change that to black here, you get a weird, flicker. I don't flicker then, but it usually flickers, and the reason why is because it's fighting to decide what Z value it is. One way you can avoid it flickering like that is you can just change any of the dimensions here by just 0.1 of pixel, and it will. Oh, there you go. It's flickering. Let's do 144 1. Oh wait, it's flickering the Z. No, the X. 0.1. Yeah, and so you do things like that to make it stop flickering. This doesn't work exactly because this is like a weird shape, but that's what it sounds like you are experiencing. When you increase the bounds, be careful, because that does mean that even if it's stuff of it that you can't see, it will still render it if the bounds are visible. So let's say, for example, I had a character. Let's say I'm doing an enemy, right? And I make this enemy duplicate this. Okay, here's my bad guy. But on my bad guy, I add a giant sphere collision on him. Okay. And we'll say this is like 500, like this, okay? Hell, let's go extreme, 1000. Now, although only a small part of him is visible, like the actual character, it will still render even if I see just the tip of this circle. Yeah, because the bounds are still visible. The bound is now a much bigger bound. So this is why it's typically bad to do things like this on characters. So try to avoid it on doing too many things. Probably do it on one thing, like your player character, maybe be okay with it. But if you have it on loads of things, it becomes problematic. But if you have like big bounds like this, it means it's going to load up that that resource, even if you may not be able to see it, use it, whatever it may be. This is true also for lighting. So if you've got attenuation, even if it's going through the walls and you can't see the lighting's effect, it will still be loaded up into memory and cause issues. So be careful what you do with bounds. Bring them in tighter if you can. But it's what you're seeing there, essentially. Can you tell the sphere collision to not affect bounds? No, because then the sphere collision won't work. The point of bounds is to determine whether or not something should be relevant to the engine in what it's doing, rendering or code wise. So collision obviously needs to know whether or not this thing exists and stuff walks into it, and we don't want to know that if it loads up when we see it. So no, we can't. Vinny, how can we make a procedural static mesh from Perlin noise using blueprints? What are you trying to make? I'm interested to know what you're trying to make. Yeah. I guess you could. I have to think about it, but maybe a way around it. In large maps that use level streaming or world partition, how would you stop an actor from being destroyed when your area is unloaded? So in world partitioning, I believe an actor is not considered destroyed when they are in another part of the map that's unloaded. They is there a thing about them being unloaded? I can't remember now. Don't know. But generally speaking, your characters still exist. It's just they're not doing stuff. Usually the world, like the main, like the flat bit of the world, is kept in. You can still walk around, like the core parts, I believe. Otherwise, you're destroying them. If you are destroying them, then you need to save what they're doing and regenerate them back out. If you're doing really complex stuff, like we see in Skyrim, where you see characters traveling across the whole entire world, then you need to kind of simulate what kind of progress they make towards that, and then respawn back in at the correct progress. Nothing easy, I'm afraid. So Vinny, what you're describing there is just displacement mapping, is it not? You just need to make sure your mesh has lots of subdivisions in it. But it's just displacement mapping. That's all. Can you check the free animal variety pack and check the wolf idle breathing animation and show how to fix the 40 loop animation? I can give it a shot. Where are you? Animal variety project. QT138. By the way, if you don't know how to add assets to projects that are not compatible, just click show objects project, sorry. Click on the project you want and just change the version down to whatever you want and it'll still work. The only thing that doesn't really work for is plugins, but for assets, it shouldn't be a problem. The only problem is that if it's using something that's part of that engine's version. But most of them aren't, so no problem. Okay, so the wolf idle animation. Let's have a look. Animation. Idle breathing animation, okay. Oh yeah. It's a bit rubbish, isn't it? I could show you a way, whether it be good or not, I don't know. But or generally just show you how to edit animations. So let's say we've got an animation for a pack you want to edit. Always duplicate it because you don't want to mess up the original. So duplicate that. Open that up. Yeah, I'll have breath 1. And then you want to go to edit and sequencer. And we're going to do edit with FK control rig because we don't have access to a control rig for our wolf here. So we'll just do FK rig. Okay. And what I want to do, we should see. Hang on. There it is. FK rig. Down here. So you can see all like the bones doing their thing, right? It should be. That's not that one. Where is it? Oh, it's there. That's fine. So as I scroll through here, we're not going to see it, are we? No. Right, what's going on here? Yeah. One. You need to bake them to the keys. They should come with the keys baked. Did it not? Hang on. Give me the option to edit sequence, sir. Yeah. Why are they not working? Hang on. Okay. It should be baked in. Well, this should be animating. Yeah. Why are you not baking in? No. Hang on. No, it's not even come up with the open level sequence. That's annoying. What's going on there? Let me delete this. Go back over there. Get rid of that one as well. Try this again. Edit sequencer. Edit with FK-Rig. There you go. That's what I want. So we click on reduce keys and then bake to control rig. There we go. Don't know why it didn't come up before. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so you can see the animation. We should see the animation now. Yep, there you go. And what we could do is take all the keys from the starting points and copy them all to the end point. So we are going to go to the graph editor. I'm going to click on all the bones. I'm going to click on all the frames at the start here. Copy. I don't know if this will work, by the way. When we go to the end here, and we'll paste them into that. I don't think I only pasted one of them. Cycle. Yeah, I don't want to do this every single one now if I can help it. That's quite a lot. Because this is long to do this. I don't want to do it. Maybe if I pick up all these things and then let me undo those three and go to all these ones and paste overwrite. Okay, that looks like it might be it. Do that. Let's see what that looks like in the out of breath. Open. It looks kind of right on here. Let me put that back to how it was as well. No, what was it doing? Okay, no. Yeah, what I did should have just worked. Let me try that again. copy. And we'll go over to here. And I'll add keyframes for all of this. Oh, I don't do it one by one. I can avoid it. Okay. Well, it should be able to just do like paste overwrite. Oh, paste overwrite. Ooh, that's definitely not right. What's happened there? I mean, I'll start there, but that should work. I don't know why it's not working here. Maybe I have to save this first and then I'll see it in there. Hold on. Something going on with the scaling there. I messed about with the scaling too much. Open level sequence. Take just the rotation pins, maybe. Well, if I take all the scale pins, I definitely don't want them to move. Yeah, they're all moved up here for some reason. So I've just selected all the scale pins. Yeah. Let's see if that works now. I messed something else up, but that's what you would do. You can edit the animations that you get. But I don't. I'd have to look at the graph to see. I look for discrepancies. You mostly just want to affect rotational ones, not translational ones. So let's take out translation as well. Like none of, or how do they call them? Location. These should be mostly zeroed out as well. You don't typically move bones; you rotate bones. So yeah, like these ones here. Save. Get in there. Get in there. That's what I was looking at. You say you went for the whole chart and so had the same problem. Yeah, it's problematic, isn't it? Rotational ones. Anything weird in here? Poke that sticking out. So that looks obviously wrong. What was that one? Because there was one that was just way off. Why was that one way off? The foot. It should be roughly, well, it should be the same as this one. Copy that. Paste. Yeah. But they're not all like that, are they? Yeah, why are these so different? That should match over here. That's what's confusing me. Copy. Paste. Yeah. Let's go back through all of them. All these rotations. Copy. Select all the N ones. Edit. Paste. That looks a bit better. There's still a bit of weirdness on it, isn't there? Oh. Oh, type thing now. But that's all I've been doing, messing around with this. Yeah. I've lost the thing now. Wait, where has it gone? No, I'll just open the map. And reset the layout. I don't know where it's gone. There we go. Yeah, anyway. Dude, you got a lot of stuff in the vault. Yeah, I do. I have a lot of projects as well. So we've got a lot of vault stuff. And here are all the projects we do as well. This is from all the tutorials, all the sessions I have with people. Yeah, it gets quite long. Did you see Power Stone? You may have. It's a little thing I'm trying to make. I'm interested in trying to make an update new version type inspired by Power Stone. Yeah. I can show you the progress I've made on it. Very little progress, but I can show you if you want. Just me flirting with ideas, basically. Quick question: is there a script for automatically spawning animation notifiers on the timeline on import? No. You have to do it all yourself. I mean, it may well be, but I'm not aware of it. How to deal with an error in blueprints? It depends on the error. Read it, and it will tell you where the problem is. But yeah, it entirely depends on the error. Yeah, Vinny. Displacement's the same on static mesh compared to a terrain. There's no difference in it. Yeah, so I'd say flirting with ideas of how, like, what to do with Power Stone type game. So like, so we've got like beat 'em up type thing. We've got items that spawn in like this and drop down. It's gonna be it's not entirely Power Stoney. I'm thinking of making it more like a 3-dimensional Super Smash Brothers type thing. So a bit more zany, a bit more over the top. Like more Power Stone 2 than Power Stone 1. Like doing that, getting special abilities and environmental things going on. But yeah, just playing out different ideas really. And it would be like a couch co-op, couch multiplayer, local multiplayer game, and maybe some online stuff in it too. I say just floating with ideas. It's something that I thought would be quite cool to try and make. Like bring back the arena, beat 'em up that I ain't seen one of those for a long time. I feel like so. Yeah. It's got like motion warping in this thing as well, so like it will snap, like sort of lock on to characters that are nearby. And the camera will look at the players and it will like look at the average location between them all. So it doesn't just follow one character; it will follow the average location and move around a bit more. But yeah, just playing with stuff. And I made this thing like this movement system on the splines here, which is just using moving like on the spline. But I'm able to detect when I'm underneath it, so they don't squash me, and then give up and go back up. So you've got a little thing there you can mess about with. Yeah, just trying out ideas with Power Stone type gameplay. How do I get the assets I bought from you to show in my vault like yours? I haven't got assets on the store you can buy. Do you mean the project samples I put on Patreon? Those ones? That'll be just projects. They'll appear in the projects bit. But the vault section, I haven't got anything on the store. Oh, with discounts. The alerts packs. They are keys that you just claim and you get them back. Not everything will appear in your vault. So I've got stuff on my computer which is not in this vault here because they came from outside of the marketplace / fab. So if it's from their website or a website with the with keys and things like that, it won't appear here. This is only stuff that's come from the marketplace. That's all. Yeah. How do you have moving platforms without the screenshot of them moving your character? They shouldn't move like that. They should move just normally. If you have them too fast, it might cause issues. Have you tested the new mutable plugin for characters? And if yes, what do you think? I have. I've been trying to decipher it without any documentation because there's no documentation out there. The plugin itself is pretty interesting, except for the fact that like it's near impenetrable to understand. I can just show you some of the work I messed about with in it. Put this Mega Lights video. Yeah, I started putting together, like, trying to understand it so I can do videos on it. Yeah, I say there is no documentation on it. If anything, it's worse than no documentation in the sense that it's clearly not finished, and a lot of the language that's being used doesn't make sense for what it means. So it's something I'm still just deciphering for you guys to try and work out and understand it, so I can then teach it to you guys. There's a few things I've gleaned from it I can show you, but that's all. It's not. I'm not there yet with it. Yeah, the big sphere trace is the lock-on thing on that Power Stone. Yeah, it was like, and then using motion warping to twist the body towards the target. Yeah. So mutables. I started doing some mutable things in here. This is the mutable plugin where you can do character customization. And so I've got this thing over here, trying to make this little basic character work over here. And I can turn on and off their shoulder guards, for example. As a very basic example there. Still working out exactly how things work. So basically, this is what I've gleaned from it. This obviously will change by the time it comes out. But the end result always is this base object. So what's it going to end up as? You've got like components and children. So the components will be your base components, like the skin of your character. Okay, so it'll be the head, the body, arms, legs, etc. They all can make up the components of the character. then the children are other things that will be attached to your character, like clothing or accessories or things like that. And they will be attached to things. And so if I go to look at the components, they start off pretty simple. Basically, you get hold of like the mesh. So for example, this is a head, okay, and this is getting the mesh from it. And this breaks out the section of the mesh, so like material basically for the mesh, and we then put it into a mesh component, and that goes through to here. It reconstitutes it back here. But what you can do before that is you can make it change what material it uses. Okay, so this is the blue one over here. We can do this with a different one. Okay, so do mesh section over here. We'll just change that one to the green one. Okay, so now I've got two options it could possibly be in here. But then the premise behind a system is that you could do stuff over here on the left hand side, and it'll appear in your parameters on the right hand side, like my shoulder guards here. So this is here because I made this object group. Yeah, that comes across there. When I made that, it made this. And so it'll pull from here what it needs to change over there. So if I wanted to change to a different color based upon the head, what color I want the head to be, that would come with some sort of way to like switch between what section you want to use here. So you can do mesh section variation, and you add variations to it. And then you have like green, blue. So that would be in the blue, that would be in the green. Then I'll go over here. The thing I haven't worked out though with this is, and I'm still figuring out, is how to choose which variation you actually want to use. Because I was expecting it would come across from there and bring it over here, but it doesn't. There's no way for me to bring that across easily. So it's putting that somewhere else. These variations, and these are tags though. So this is what's interesting about this. This says it's a type of a tag. If I go to Tag Explorer, they now appear here, blue and green. Okay, I can figure out which one they're using. So I can sync them all up. So when I change it to blue, the idea being is it would then pick all the blue ones automatically for me. The difference is I don't know how to get that over here. So still figuring that one out. Accessories are a lot simpler. I say a lot simpler. So this is the shoulder pads, and they have I've got different colors here: green, blue, and purple. Again, don't know how to switch between them. But go to a mesh component, and then go to a child object. So you compile it all together into a smaller object, and then that goes into the object group, which then the shoulder guards will go across. And you can determine what type of variable this is going to be over here. So the type of this is toggle, so it'd be like a boolean. And then you've got things like all options. You can provide at least one of the options, and so on. And when you change this, it changes how it looks over here. So shoulder guards, I can turn it off and on. Obviously, I've only got one thing on here, so that'll go into there. But if I had something else in here, so maybe I had like, for example, if I change this one to shoulder guards blue, for example, put that in there, and put the blue one in there, and hit compile. This will now have the shoulder guards blue option. Okay, so I could go into here and go blue, and that'll change them to the blue variation. Yeah, so there are things you could do in that sense. But as you can see, when I've done the head thing up here into the variations, it didn't know how to pick one, so it's picking by default, which is zero, like nothing. So I need to put that into default, but I can't put in both variation 1 and the default. I'd have to do like a duplicate of that, and we'll put that in there, and that in there, and it'll pick the default then. But I don't know how to switch it over to that variation. So you do stuff like that. There is a switch on enum, so there are different parameters you can do in here. Say, figuring it all out. I'm just trying to figure it out. You've got color parameters, so you can change the color tints on different things if you want to as well. You've got enum parameters, and you can switch upon the enum. So you do component switches, and we've got a mesh switch, float switch, color switch, all these various things that can pass through different things. So let's say component switch over here, and then on the enum, you do like blue, green, and plug that into your component over here. So that would go into, rather than using this mesh component, there's a component switch over here. That will go into there, and then you have another one doing that one, and then that will go into there. But this component switch enum now will appear over here. Oh, one error. What's the error I got? Probably because I've got two head meshes the same. But it should appear over here. Let me just change that name over here to head 2, whatever. Compile. There you go. So now I can go over here and change the what enum I want to use. Green. You'd see it changes the head to that mesh over there. But it's not ideal, that solution. It should be using this tag system, but don't know how to use that yet. Working it out. So once I've figured this out properly, I'll do a proper tutorial on it and how to use it in its current state. It does feel a bit rough and not ideal. There are things that I feel like especially the UI side of this thing is a bit of a bit rubbish. But what's really cool about this is that you can tie this together with your UI as well, apparently as well. So over here we've got UI sections and UI thumbnails. If I have UI thumbnails, for example, this can now pull from a table. So most of this would come from a table usually, like there. And you can then use that in your UI to auto generate what parts you want to make. So if you want to make a customization system in UI, in UMG, it should be relatively simple. But I'm working that out. So bear with me. I'm trying to figure that out. Yeah. My mic is very low. Oh, sorry. I've got maximum. Hold on. Don't know. We're ending now anyway, so I won't worry about it too much. But yeah. So that'll have to do for today, unfortunately. There are loads of questions I didn't get round to. I'm so sorry, but we'll be back again next week with another question time answering your questions. If you, in the meantime, want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com. You can find videos about explaining the PCG system. We also got the new episodes for the kart series going up with how to do the AI karts going around, and auto steering and things like that. What else? Megalights being explained there a little bit. How do I organize my projects? You can see that on there too. Yeah, there's more stuff obviously in the works coming down the pipeline. So much thank you to everyone who is supporting the channel over on Patreon. If you're not really supporting the channel over there, do check it out. It really does help out massively, make the channel stay afloat basically. And if you've not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe. And if you know friends who are trying to learn Unreal, throw them my way as well. Make them subscribe. Do what you want to do. But yeah, take care everyone. Have a good night, and I'll speak to you all next time. Good night, everyone.